We love it when you clap. That makes us really happy. So our guest speaker this morning is Tom Kloiber, who has been a member of Unity of Sheboygan for many years. He has served on the board of trustees in many capacities and is currently their board secretary. He brings greetings from Unity of Sheboygan and best wishes for the holiday season.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Nice introduction. Getting those people to stand up there like that to take that picture was really difficult. It's took me a while to get here this morning for that. So, all righty. Yes, again, good morning here from, very happy to be here. It's been quite a while since I have spoken at Unity of Appleton. It may have been last century, but I think I spoke this century too. I know for sure once was around 1996. And that was when my oldest son had his temporary driver's license. And so I asked him if he wanted to drive the car over to Appleton for the service. And he was really excited about doing that, driving out on the expressway as a young kid. So that's how you get a teenager to come to church these days.
I think your mic is not on.
I was practicing my on and off and didn't get it on. Is that on now?
No.
Well, let me just take this. I'm not getting any color on my. On here. You want to shift to this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Put that in there. Technology is not all it's made up to be.
Oh, microphone out of there.
Oh. Should be okay there. Okay. So good morning. Let's start. We have to start over again. Continue on. Sheboygan and Appleton Unity have had an ongoing relationship for many, many years. Of course, our minister, Reverend Aubrey Lynn, was just here several weeks ago. And I know many of you remember Rick Biella, who did the music here for so many years. And I recall having the services over at the YMCA. And Cindy was surprised I mentioned YMCA. It's been that long. I missed a couple of stops that you've had in between there. But I remember you guys carrying the books and the music and everything else, all of the stuff over to the church every week. And Rick would have his clavinova, is that what he had? Wheeling it across the road. Boy, such dedication that was. That's pretty amazing. One time in Sheboygan, we were going to have a 100% participation Sunday and invite everybody who's supposed to come and bring a friend, and we make a big deal out of it. And so you were supposed to bring a friend along. We had special music and a potluck and other festivities. And knowing Rick's talent, we invited him over to be with us to do some special music for the day. And now our church building is not really huge, but it can maybe seat 100 people. And yet, as expected, when he played his music, it just blew the roof right off the top. It was pretty amazing. So, when Cindy asked me to speak, I asked her if there was any particular topic that she wanted me to speak on. And she said, no, just do whatever you want. Well, that's kind of dangerous to let me do that. But I was thinking about this particular date, November 28th, which is still really in our Thanksgiving weekend, yet it is also the traditional start of the Christmas season. So the start of Advent is coming, and the Christmas season is a time for celebration and rejoicing, and Thanksgiving is usually geared towards gratitude, so why not combine the two? So that's how I came up with rejoicing and gratitude. A couple of years ago in Sheboygan, we had 4 themes for our Advent time. They were love, peace, joy, and hope. I'm going to see a couple of them on the wall here today. But I think it was the Unity International from Kansas City had put out a booklet that had those 4 themes for the 4 weeks in Advent. And then they had a number of the ministers would write an article for each day pertaining to a particular topic for the week. And so it was a very inspirational little booklet that we had. And plus they went beyond the Advent time to the 12 days of Christmas. And I'm not sure if they had each of the 12 powers, but they went from Christmas Day through Epiphany. So it became a really nice booklet and a centering point for prayer and meditation, which is very helpful. So, but when Cindy asked me to speak, being a numbers guy, I got to thinking, well, that's about 40 days from now. And so I got thinking of what the significance of 40 was, as is often referred to it in the Bible. Now, it seems like it usually indicates a time of trial or testing, or to have some revelation of spiritual truth. In the Old Testament, God caused it to rain for 40 days and 40 nights. The Israelites wandered for 40 years in the desert. And Jesus was tested, of course, for 40 days and 40 nights. We would do the best to have that attitude of gratitude, again, not for all things, but in all things. So I thought if I could come up with a specific topic during my morning prayer time and focus on that during those 40 days, it would be a very interesting exercise to do. Of course, then at the end of the day, I review the day's events and write down the focal point for what happened during that time. So I was grateful for many of those experiences during the day. And then as time went on, I got thinking, well, what topic could I have for a particular day? And one day I was going to have the general topic of military veterans. And so I thought about that during the day. And then when they came to the end of the day and looked back, so I not only had what that topic was about, but we had a guest minister at our church at that time. And it was very inspirational. So when I looked back at the end of the day, I not only had the focus of what my original topic was, but I realized that I was just generally grateful for ministers and all that they do for my life. Now, speaking of being proactive, one of the guest speakers that we had one time was talking about writing in a journal of the things that we were grateful for. And she had brought a big bag with a bunch of little booklets that could be one could write their journal in, and it could be used for that particular reason and to encourage us to do that. In fact, I brought one along that I picked up today. On the front, you probably can't see the name that says Powerful Thoughts, and it's got a picture of the fist up there, so that's what you're supposed to have. So, but that's what we have. Our thoughts are so powerful, and when we put them down in writing, it makes for a much better chance of us accomplishing our goals and doing what we need to do. Is it possible to leave this in here like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That way, and I have both hands to play with. All right. Okay. So I realized that she was motivated to bring these books along, and I got thinking, well, it may have been a win-win situation because she might have just been cleaning out her spiritual closet to get rid of these books, but it also helped everybody who was interested in going up after the service to get one of those books so that they could use them for a very, very valuable event. Now, we do have to be a little bit careful, though, when we talk about the concept of gratitude. I was talking to one of my friends the other day, actually, I think it was the day before Thanksgiving, and she was contemplating all the things that she was going to be having to do during the holiday season. And she'd say, boy, I will be so grateful when all this holiday season is over with. Well, we do have to manage our expectations a little bit and find the balance between rest and relaxation and fun and activities. So we really need to find what the meaning is for the holidays that would be important for us personally. Now, is anyone here familiar with the singer-songwriter Karen Taylor Good? Or if any people in the band, you know her? Okay, she's based out of Nashville, but I think she was probably originally from the Milwaukee area. And one of our members of our congregation was familiar with her and invited her to come to do some songs and speak at our church, which she agreed to do. And I thought I like to sing a little bit, so I thought I'd be helpful. So before the service, she's sitting up there with her guitar. So I asked her if she would like me to help her with the ordinaries during the service, like the Lord's Prayer and the meditation and those kinds of things. She says, no, I can handle it. And so, of course, then once she started singing, I realized she didn't need any of my help. There's a reason they're called professional singers, just really amazing voices. But Karen Taylor Good has, in the last number of years, has teamed up with a lady named Stowe Daly. And they formed a group called Stowe Good, which is kind of a clever title. And we actually had them live stream some of their songs during one of our service a short while back. And one of the songs that they did was called Gratitude. And one of the lines goes like this: I promise in this moment to keep my heart wide open. With every breath I take, I'm grateful. What a beautiful sentiment, and it coincides so well with some of the songs that we sing in unity, especially the one that goes, our thoughts, our prayers, and we are always praying. We are always praying because prayer is essentially concentrated thought, and our thoughts are continuous, and depending on the energy and feeling that we put into our thoughts, it goes a long way in determining their effectiveness. If we can keep in mind that with each breath we are grateful, we will keep that feeling of gratitude with us always. So recall periodically throughout the day, I am breathing, and I have the breath of life in me. For what do we do more than breathing? Well, I suppose our heart beats more times than the number of breaths that we actually take, but actually that was in the song verse as well. I promise in this moment to keep my heart wide open. As we open our hearts and are receptive to all that comes to us during the day and greet it with that attitude of gratitude, we will find that our lives are more fulfilling and at peace. Our heart is the center of our feeling nature, and it puts us in contact with the world around us and provides us with the opportunity to interact with those in the world at a soul level. I would like to mention a few words about an Indian philosopher named J. Krishnamurti, as he has some things to say that I think will help us, give us some more understanding about the ideas of gratitude and rejoicing. He would actually not give any credence to the idea of him being from India, or for being a philosopher for that matter, as he would think that would be just totally irrelevant. Now, there's always been quite an interest in many circles about a Messiah, and particularly Jesus, returning to earth to straighten things out so that people will finally realize that they need to change and get their life right. Of course, traditionally, this is the season, the reason for the season right now. Is it not? Other cultures have thought that a world teacher would eventually be coming with the same result. Back in the early 20th centuries, the thought in India was that Krishnamurti would be that world teacher. The thought was that he would do that, and they deduced this through clairvoyance, which is seeing and sensing the aura around him. Now, can you imagine what the aura must have been around Jesus back in his time, if they were able to tell that? So they gave him the best education he could possibly have to train him so that he would be the world teacher. As he grew through his early teens and 20s, the crowds were coming. They were large and excited. But eventually, he disbanded the organization because he began to feel that people were only looking to him for their enlightenment rather than doing the work themselves. The organization he had was called the Order of the Star in the East. It had abruptly halted when he came to that understanding that that's not how he wanted to finish his life. So he continued after that time teaching and speaking around the world, but always with the idea that people need to understand how their mind works, the conditioning that has happened to them over the years, and get back to realizing the freedom that they have in their free thinking. And he looked at these things from the different social and political and even religious organizations that people need to be open with each other to address the serious problems that we have in our world. We tend to experience things from our memory and things that have happened in the past, and we often never really get a chance to look at things as they really are. The best opportunity we have to grow as mature human beings is to solve those problems so that we had in the world. The process of meditation was important for Krishnamurti, but not in the sense of a certain formula or technique. His definition for meditation was that it was the awareness of oneself from moment to moment in action. This gives us a little different idea on meditation. As the increase in our understanding comes from quieting of the mind by being watchful and responding to everything around us, we observe that the conditioning that has taken place inevitably to us over the years. The freedom to observe ourselves and how we respond to varying situations will allow us to grow in that self-understanding. Now, I don't think anything characterizes the Christmas season more than joy. Thinking ahead to the Christmas time and the opening of gifts on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, we are looking forward to the joy of something we are about to receive. even the traditional true meaning of Christmas, the birth of Jesus, is the expectation of knowing that our Savior is born, to grow up to be our wayshore, and how to live, how to love, and how to realize and express our true Christ nature in the world. This path takes us on a whole month and is repeated each year as we go deeper and deeper to come to that realization of our Christ nature. That Christ nature is already present within us and is indeed what we truly are. The same concept of needing that quiet time in our minds to examine our true nature occurs during the Easter season, of course, as well, leading up for many weeks to Good Friday and finally to Easter. But as we do this over the years and many day in and day out, this cycle repeats itself as we evolve more and more along our spiritual journey. Of course, the greatest joy is coming into that feeling of the awareness that Christ's presence within us. But if we start to look in the dictionary for our definitions of joy and joyous, we wonder if there's any difference. And to be joyous, as a verb, it tells us to be very happy, to be delighted, to be filled with joy. And for joy, it says, well, just to rejoice. But if we look at that little word re at the start of rejoice, for many words, it means to do something over or to do it again. We reorganize, we reorder, we resend. So we're doing things over and over again in a manner that allows us to rejoice. But I think that can mean that if we're rejoicing, we're looking forward to having joy again and again, which is a wonderful prospect for us. You know, I've been singing the last number of years with the Sheboygan Symphony Chorus, and one of the songs that we were going to do at our Christmas concert in a couple of weeks is called Gaudete, which means rejoice. Now, is any one of our wonderful band members here familiar with the song Gaudete? Perhaps not. It's actually a Latin carol. It dates way back to the 16th century. But the refrain of the song goes, Gaudete, Gaudete, Christus est natus, ex Maria Virgine, Gaudete. And that translates to rejoice, rejoice. Christ is born of the Virgin Mary, rejoice. In the traditional Christmas church, the third Sunday of Advent is called Gaudete Sunday. The whole process of Advent is a solemn occasion of preparation for the coming of Christ. And the third Sunday is midway through the season and is a time for rejoicing at the prospect of what is about to come in the next few weeks. The readings for the Catholic Mass on this day start out with one from Philippians in chapter 4, where it says, Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say, rejoice. Indeed, the Lord is near. In unity, that has meaning for us, as we know that, of course, the Lord is near, and that's because that Christ Spirit is already within us and is indeed the very nature of our being. The realization of it is for us to pursue in our prayer and meditation times and to come to the awareness of this process of transformation within us. One of the other readings for this day is from the book of James regarding patience. And who doesn't need some of that right now? And we want patience immediately. Part of that reading says, Be patient, therefore, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. Behold, the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient over and over until it receives the early and the late rain. I don't know if any of you have gardens at all. We've had one at our house for many, many years. And every year we want the stuff to keep growing faster and faster. But we need patience. We need patience, and it always comes through, especially this year. Now, did any of you have like gigantic zucchini this year and tons of tomatoes? We seem to have had that. But if we have patience and not grumbling with one another, as we are exhorted to do, it'll allow that spiritual process to unfold within us. And as we mentioned regarding gratefulness, to keep a little notebook as a reminder of what we want to be grateful for, I think we could also do that with joy. It seems the principle is to keep your mind focused on what you want to focus upon. So why not have a spot in your journal for the things that have made you joyful? And knowing that we need a balance of giving and receiving, let's make a list of what made you joyful that you may want to give or said or did. Now, the joy of expressing that Christ Spirit is really an inside job for us. And the more we consciously give out, certainly the more we will receive. When our kids were young, we used to have one of those little hanging bears that you put on a calendar. You'd mark it up from day to day to day. But rather than counting down the number of days till Christmas, why don't we count up the number of times that we have been joyful in the things that we do and experience? I think we'll be a whole lot happier when we wake up on Christmas morning and realize all of the joy that we have generated in the past month. Actually, in many ways, gratefulness and rejoicing have a lot in common, as they both come from deep within our soul. It has been said that we are in the express business, that is, that we are expressions of God, and that we express both gratitude and joy from the awareness of our Christ nature. Gratitude arises from the realization of how we have been blessed by one another and in what circumstances that has occurred. That is in tune with our higher nature. As we express joy to others, or merely exude joy from ourselves, we are tapping into the innate nature of our being. Our peace and highest happiness come from the knowing that we are spiritual beings and share that feeling in everything that we do. So as we conclude our Thanksgiving holiday and begin the Advent season, let us go forth with joy and thanksgiving, as we are encouraged in Philippians, where it says, "Rejoice." Again, I say rejoice. Indeed, the Lord is near. And so it is.